Podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. Let me get the right graphic up on there for our first ever live episode. And if you guys can see us, shoot us a chat because we've never done this before. Pretty exciting. I know I have it up on my own phone, but here we go. Looks like we're good to go. Scotty, live reaction episode to the NHL Draft Lottery. And this is something that we have had a ton of anticipation for. And first reaction, man, content, I guess is the word to use.
Yeah, I think so. We didn't move down.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were hoping. So in the last 4 out of the last 5 years, the Red Wings have dropped. Last year was the first year that they didn't. This year they changed again how they were doing it, or not change. It was a change that was going to be implemented this year that they had agreed upon previous years. So to sit tight at 8, I was okay with, because, I mean, we said it, we were sitting in the recording studio, not the live studio, while we were watching it together, and we just kept chanting, "Don't drop, don't drop, don't drop." And thankfully, Scotty, here we are sitting 8th overall, and honestly, I'm happy with that. I knew that 6% chance to jumping up into the top 2 was very, very slim, but man, 8th overall, I'll take it. It's another top 10 draft pick, and we've talked about it. This Red Wings core is so stacked with talent coming up. Of course, with the additions of Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond this year, you have guys that really broke out this year, like Dylan Larkin and Tyler Bertuzzi, that the core is here. To add Simon Edmondson and possibly Jonathan Berggren next season, and then add another top 10 to that pool already. I mean, despite it being 8th and just sitting pretty, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about it with Scouch yesterday with Will, and he reiterated the point that, like, this is a draft class that could go a lot of different ways from like 4 to 10, and there's a lot of interchangeable prospects, and it's going to be a big guessing game, and it's really going to come down to just who teams like more than anything. There's not really a definitive, like value pick, like, oh, like this dude has the most value at like 4 or 8 or whatever. Like it's going to be the talent is pretty evenly distributed. It's a very deep draft when it comes to that. So I'm pumped. I mean, we didn't move down. That was really the biggest thing. I didn't really think there was a chance that we were going to move up. The lottery and us have never really gotten along. But I'm just
this is about as getting along as it gets. It's just
right,
staying
yeah.
pat at 8.
I'm really just very glad that that we're still at 8. That we didn't move down. That's like my biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Will Scouch. I mean, the episode came out today, so for those listening, it'd be today's episode. We talked to him last night, however, and he, like he said, there's a lot of really good players in that 8 to 10 range that are going to be NHL caliber players that are fairly interchangeable. And I do feel like we got to talk about the fact it's not Red Wings, but just the draft lottery related. The fact that the Devils did jump up to the 2nd overall pick is pretty huge for that organization as well. I do want to let you guys know that we are going to be interacting with chat today. We're going to dedicate the whole 3rd segment to answering your guys' questions and replying to your comments. So make sure you stick around. So that final 3rd segment that you guys know is going to be dedicated to you guys and your questions. Hopefully we get responsible questions, looking at my roommates who I'm sure are already in the chat. I haven't looked at it yet, but yeah, the New Jersey Devils jumping all the way up to 2nd overall was absolutely...
It's big for them.
It's big for them because you got to think they already have Hughes. They already have Heischer. Now you're going to add a Logan Cooley, a Slafkovsky. I always mispronounce that name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's going to be dangerous. Slafkovsky, rather. That's going to be an incredibly talented core. And that Devils team, has been up and down in the rebuild lately. You think they're about to take a step forward, and they just haven't. They've had injury issues as well. But that Devils team has got a huge, huge, huge boon in that 2nd overall pick and jumping up. Feel a little bit bad for the Arizona Coyotes, though, because they were dog crap the majority of this. I don't feel bad for the I feel bad for the fans, the 10 of
There
them
you
that exist. I don't feel bad for the organization
I
because the
don't feel
organization,
bad for ownership.
yeah, don't feel bad for them at all.
No,
They've done some
I
shady
feel bad a
things.
little bit for that fan base, though.
All 10 fans.
And the league couldn't be happier. Shane Wright going to Montreal.
Oh.
I mean, the league is jumping around and doing a dance. Like that's their best case. Well, maybe not best, but that's one of their best case scenarios. So
yeah, and so Shane Wright going. I mean, also you look at the core that Montreal's going to have too. I mean, you got Cole Caulfield, who once they got Martin St. Louis behind the bench, exploded. I mean, he looked like he did during the postseason last year, in the regular season last year. He looked back to where he should be, what he's expected of. And, they're going through a full-fledged rebuild. Well, it gets accelerated a whole of a hell of a lot by having Shane Wright there. I mean, this guy was granted exceptional status to play in the CHL. So, I mean, this kid is something special. So you look at those two teams, those two organizations. You can even lump Arizona in there with Slavkovsky. I mean, those three guys, not saying that's Shane Wright's like guaranteed number one. 2 and 3 could be a surprise. Like, you never know. But based on what we have heard and what we know, like, those guys are probably going to be top 3 picks. Those teams are getting incredibly talented guys. I've seen people refer to Logan Cooley as a franchise player.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, like on yesterday's show, we covered a little bit, like, if we did move up to 2, you know what I mean? Like, that's still a win as an organization, even though this is really headlined by Wright. It's certainly not like a one-player draft, and so that's why we did take a look at that. And I mean, obviously, a big day for the New Jersey Devils. And even though you don't get Shane Wright, you still get a hell of a player. I mean, I just keep going back. Like, I'm just so pumped we got 8.
Isn't that incredibly sad,
that sounds
though?
weird, but like I was convinced we were getting 10. Like, convinced. I was like, yeah, we're moving back as far as we can go.
You just know it. Like, it's that dread. Like, when they got to the 12th and the 11th announcement, I was like, 10 is coming up, and that's as far down as we can fall. The Red Wings can fall, and I was like, just please don't.
I thought it was seriously.
Fall.
When we watched it together, like, yeah, I thought we were getting 10.
You got that gut, because again, with the exception of last year where they stayed,
it keeps happening.
It kept happening throughout the entire rebuild. They've fallen. So the fact that they got 8, and there's a slew of talent, which we're going to talk about in the second segment, like preferred talents or targets rather. You got Lakiri Maki. You got Brad Lambert could possibly be there, depending on who you ask. Who's Will Scouch is high on him.
Huge fan of Lambert.
You got Connor Geeky, Gauthier, Kemmel, Yurov, and you got a slew of defensemen as well. If you want to continue to shore that up, and I mean, we'll tell you guys who our preferred targets are. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, I'm really going to try hard. Wait, this is a live episode. Can I do I have a Rock Auto graphic? No, I failed. I didn't have it prepped. Just like in our recorded episodes. Here we go.
It's embarrassing for you. Yeah, not for me.
I'm used to it. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you. Appreciate it. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now possible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you ever need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? Your computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from the chain store or car dealership? Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find their solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in their "How did you hear about us" box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts you will ever need. rockauto.com. Scotty, did I hear you chuckle? Did I do something?
No, we got a comment that said, "At Brian, you're so adorable in that hat."
Oh, I need to see who this is. Oh my god, that is one of our frequent viewers. Thank you, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Nick's the dog, but yeah, it made me chuckle.
Oh, segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Everyone got to see me struggle with that ad read. It's been the trend lately. It's been the trend.
You
get in
my
own head.
Cold open just for the people. See how many tries it takes you.
I can do without that shame in my life live. So segment 2, we're going to talk about preferred targets for the Red Wings at 8. And we talked a lot about that with Will Scouch just today for those listening, yesterday when we recorded. And like he said, and like we said in the first segment, there's a lot of interchangeable pieces. Scotty, I don't know if there's anyone out there that stands out to you as would be your preferred target, or like maybe a position that stands out.
For sure. I mean, like, it's really hard to not want to, like, kind of peek behind the curtain of Brad Lambert after yesterday. Like, I think it's pretty hard to talk to Will and not be really intrigued by Lambert. So he's definitely one that kind of jumps off the board. But really, I'm pretty okay.
Close the chat.
Oh, dude. Allison, are we sure Brian knows how to read? It's my favorite comment in the history of the show. Wow. It's going to be hard to recover from that one. I'm a big fan of that comment. I'm a big fan of that comment. Everything about it, fantastic. So I am a fan of Brad Lambert, but I think besides that the organization focusing, I mean, we've talked about it all year, is like center depth is a problem. And so like Lambert has played some center, so like that, two birds with one stone. But I think that the biggest thing, I'm okay with adding to center depth. I guess that's my biggest thing. Like, if it's not Lambert, somebody else, take the best center that you see fit on the board. It's not a super deep defensive draft in the first round as is anyways. You might as well just get some center depth in there at 8 and put them in your system and try and develop him. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's probably the safest, but also like route that just makes the most sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, like you said, I'm also curious on Brad Lambert because he's a guy who can be taken anywhere in the top 15. He can be taken from the top 5 to fall out of the top 10 altogether, depending on who you ask. But just like you, I feel like center is probably the most pressing need right now. I feel like we're really stacked up on the defensive core, at least in players coming in. We all know how horrid the defense was this past season. But as far as the future, you got Simon Edvinsson, you got William Wallander, you got Albert Johansson. So you got guys on the way. It feels like center depth is really where you're lacking that tried and true talent. Like Pius Suter, God bless him, he's not the second line center for this team in the future.
Right.
And, there's arguments to be made. We are on team Larkin as a top line center, but there's arguments to be made that you get, an even better guy. You could knock Larkin down in the second line. We don't have that guy. And I don't think you're going to get a tried and true top line center. Maybe at 7, 8. I guess you could. I mean, Yzerman got Seider at 6th overall. But it's just, I'm looking at it, and we need another top 6 center really badly because I don't know if Veleno has it in him to be a top 6 forward. He took steps forward this year. And I look at the guys who are in the AHL and in the Swedish leagues and stuff like that. And, Berggren's showing promise. He broke the rookie record down in the Grand Rapids Griffins. But I would just feel a lot more comfortable if they took another center here, because like I said with Scout yesterday, worst case scenario, it's just like Michael Rasmussen where he doesn't pan out at center, so you move him to wing and now he's starting to play really well. So it's always easier to transition a guy who was a failed center, and when I say failed, I don't mean like failed, but just that it didn't pan out for him in that position. You can always transition him to a wing where they can be effective. Can't do so much vice versa if you draft a winger.
Yeah, and just in general, like we've talked about it a lot, like this organization needs center depth. It is very much probably from a top to bottom, like if you're looking at every level of the organization, probably the biggest hole we have is center depth. Like we've started to push through some defenders. We got some more defensemen coming up. We finally kind of fixed the goalie situation in like 2 days, like last offseason. We have lots of wingers, like bodies at least. I'm not sure, everybody's opinion of how well those wingers are going to turn out is subjective. But one of the more objective things is just top to bottom, a lack of depth at the center position. So I don't really think you can go wrong but by taking a center here. And again, it's not a very deep draft when it comes to defensemen anyway, and there's no first-round goalie to worry about, not that we would be in that market anyway. So I think you just play it safe, and playing it safe, it almost has like a negative connotation these days, but like that's not a bad thing. Like you just go and you take your guy who you think the best forward that can give you some center depth is at 8, and you call it a win.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the defense, the top-rated defensemen are Simon Nemec and David Jiricek. Those two guys are probably going to be top 10 picks. But again, I don't know if you necessarily need another defenseman. Again, if whatever Yzerman picks, I'm going to be okay with. Like last season, correct. I was like, really? Like I would have probably preferred Eklund. Edvinson's going to be an NHL talent regardless, so it's fine. We had a fantastic year in the SHL. Yzerman 1, Brian 0. And then, 2 years ago, I like everyone. Seider is a reach. Why did you go with Seider? Like, that's a little nervous. Like, what? That's your start of a tenure. Seider is going to be the Calder champion, the Calder Award winner for Rookie of the Year this year. So, Yzerman 2, Brian 0. So in the end, like I'm just going to trust whatever Yzerman chooses, because in the top 10, I really also don't feel like there is a bad choice. And then you also have to look at the opportunity too, the possibility, however slim, that maybe you trade out of that number 8 pick. Maybe you slide back. I don't know if there's anyone outside of the top 2 that I would trade up for. Like I don't think moving up is really a need, but I mean there might be teams that are willing to trade up into your position and you trade back. I mean, the Red Wings do have 2 second-round picks and I think 3 fourth-round picks this season.
Yeah, a lot of draft capital.
The only round they don't have a pick in is round 6. But like, if you're trading, if you're trading back, you're getting more assets back. So I mean, that depends on what Yzerman sees in that talent pool in the top 10, and ultimately, people always talk about maybe trading backwards. But I feel as if most GMs, especially in hockey, usually stay pat in that top 10 because you're more than likely to get an NHL caliber talent in that top 10 than outside the top 10. Like once you get outside that top 10, especially that top 20, the talent level and how long their careers are start to get anxious, start to get a little rocky. So maybe if you trade back to the teens, you could get quite a haul for that still. I mean, moving up from like 13 to 8 is still incredible value. I mean, you can get incredible value in return. But
again, with the conversation we had yesterday, even going from like 8 to 11 or 8 to 12, you could probably get a decent return there. And this isn't an advocacy for like we need to trade back. I'm fine with 8.
It's we're talking about the possibility,
right? But and the reverse, like doing that and then trading up, right? It is like that would take a fat return. You're not getting 1. That's just off the table. But trading up to what? 3? I don't think you're cracking into the top 2. I don't think.
Why would you ever give that up?
You're right. I don't think that either of the two teams want to, and I don't think that even if they did, that Yzerman would want to get rid of the capital it would take to get in there. But like, so if you're looking at like a up to 3 or 4, again, like with our conversation yesterday, it was pretty eye-opening. I'm not really sure the talent drop off from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 maybe is a better way to put it, is I'm not sure that's greater than the drop off when you get into like where we are picking, like the drop off of like 7 to 8 per se. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of the talent level seems to be pretty equal once you get into the back part of the top 10. So I'm not really sure trading up makes is something, an avenue that we're going to venture in either. I think we probably just pick at 8.
I think that's the most logical thing to do. I mean, I go back to what I said here at the beginning of the segment. The Red Wings have an immense pool of talent right now, and adding another top 10 pick is just purely beneficial to the building process that this team is going under. You have, I know I already listed off all the players that you have. Adding another top 10 pick to that only furthers to help you in that situation, and you could bring in a new head coach this offseason. You look to spend a little bit of money. This team next year, I mean, again, it's also very dependent on who you bring in at head coach, but this team next year could take another huge step forward and then also have a couple years down the line, another, top 6 forward or top pair defenseman come in,
right, and
make that even better. I mean, that's how you go from, rebuilding team fringe playoff contender, wild card contender, regular old playoff contender to Stanley Cup contender is not just like signing free agents and making big trades, which is important to like topping off your team, but having continuous supply of top end talent come in, and that you do that by, unfortunately, and whether or not you believe tanking is real, but by unfortunately having multiple top 10 picks years in a row, so that as the team gets better, you continue to get top 10 picks ready at the NHL level years later. So I mean, this is just I truly do feel like we are on the tail end of this trend. Like next year I don't want us to be in the top 10, but getting one more top 10 pick after the team took a step forward, at least in the first, half, 2/3 of the season. I mean, I can't be more than happy. I can't be happier about that than I am.
No, I completely agree. I think the situation that we're in showed promise. Rookies are here. A lot of people took a big step forward. Have our core pretty much all in the show, and a top 10 pick, top 8 pick being added into that. But that's a successful season in my eyes, as we've talked about on the show the last week or so.
And the one thing that the Red Wings can do to further that success is go to Built.com.
I was going to say eat a Built Bar.
Eat a Built Bar. Summer is coming, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacations. Throw them in your bags, in your kids' backpacks. Make sure that everyone has a bar so you are fueled for your summer adventures. The best part about Built Bars, they're healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you have both. And it's easy. All you have to do is go to Built.com and order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means that with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to Built.com and get all your favorites: banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, and so many more. They are all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. Check them out at Built.com. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.
We didn't have a BetOnline for our live show.
We didn't. That's a bummer. That was my easy one.
Say raspberry.
Raspberry.
Yeah. Let's grow up and just say raspberry, dude.
Raspberry. That's how it's technically pronounced. Just so you guys know, like when we talk about how we don't edit anymore, like you're seeing now, like this is just how we record.
Yeah.
This is just straight up us.
Pretty much it. Straight through.
Segment 3 of your Wednesday edition, as this is the Wednesday episode for you guys as well, of the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We're going to open the floor now to the chat. And
it's been a doozy.
It's been a doozy.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we need to talk about is I believe the name on my end is Bradley Anderson, has brought up a plethora of times that he wants to pretty much tank one more year, trade this pick for a first-round pick next year to double our odds, and is very adamant that we should be going for 1-1 next year, and that should be the plan, and then go all in after that. So we can have that conversation, I guess, because that's been the most frequent commenter, I guess I'd say.
Yeah, and I mean that is definitely
it's an avenue that a lot of teams are going to take. It's
an avenue that certain Red Wings fans take. I mean, obviously, Scotty, you and I have talked about it multiple times, and we're not necessarily saying that our viewpoint is right. It's just a viewpoint that we share, that we're over tanking. I mean, it's just been a long road back to relevancy. The team's not quite there yet. Connor Bedard is, looking to be a generational talent. We know this, but to tank next year is going to be incredibly hard, especially with what I feel is going to be the next head coach of the Detroit Red Wings is going to be brought in to win games. So I just don't think that it's in the cards for the Red Wings to tank. But then again, Ottawa Senators fans have been saying that for years too, and here they are at the bottom of the standings again. So, while I feel like the team's ready to take that next step forward back to relevancy with, the players that they have on this team, I feel like it's going to be hard for them to tank with Seider and Raymond in year 2, Larkin and Bertuzzi having near career years for especially Larkin. You mix in Simon Edvinsson to that fold. You get the defense better because Steve Yzerman has hinted at that he's going to try at least and lure more free agents to Detroit. I don't know if they'll be in the mix for Connor Bedard.
Right.
Now, the take, though, what he's asking also is maybe trade this pick for a first round next year. I having multiple first round picks is awesome, but I don't think there'd be any team that would package, let's say a 10th overall and where the Red Wings are next year for a first.
Right,
overall.
because you would have to get that from a bad team. You would have to, you know what I mean? You would have to get that from a team that you can't just get any first round pick. You'd have to get that from a lottery team if you wanted to raise your odds. And I'm not sure any team that's in the lottery, knowing that kind of talent is at the top, is going to be like quick to get rid of, get rid of their pick. But I think more importantly, like we've had this conversation on the show before, I don't think that the Red Wings are in a position where it's going to be super easy to like tank. Like again, Seider is going to take, possibly another step forward than he already had. Raymond, another step forward. We're going to get, hopefully full seasons out of Larkin and Burt. Like Fabry's going to come back from injury.
Jacob
We're going to get
Vrana.
a full season out of Vrana for the first time. Like, and Steve said he wants to bring in new talent on the free agent market. Like we're going to see like Edvinsson probably at some point, even if it's not opening night, like Bergeron, like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's just,
the roster is going to be better next year.
right.
And like we already saw that.
Really not feasible to like tank next season like that. I don't think that that's really something that's.
This brings me to another point, too. We did get an awesome comment that says, also from Nick, you can always tell when the Tigers are losing by watching Scotty's face. His pain gives it away.
Pain is all I know watching this team.
Remember when we talked before the season
Tony
about how
Kemp just turned into Superman. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's so ridiculous. And so I just don't think that it's feasible to tank next season. And I also don't think that any team is going to be super willing to part with their pick if they know that they're going to be at the bottom of the lottery. There's just too many pieces there that I don't think. And honestly, even all of that aside, I don't think the risk is worth the reward. I don't think that for a at best, what, a 15%? Is that top lotto odds? Like at
18.5,
best,
I think, is your best chance at number one overall.
So to completely derail another season, and I'm not saying that it's a one-player draft or anything, but to derail your whole next season again and delay being competitive again for a whole nother year for that chance at the top pick, I'm not sure that is really if we were already in the dumps, sure. But like, I think the direction is trying to climb out of them.
Well,
I'm
then
not sure the risk is really worth the reward there.
Brad follows up and he says, so what happens? Let's say if in October someone suffers a season-ending injury, would that change the narrative? Anything's possible. I mean, I think when Yzerman took over, everyone already knew who Bedard was. I mean, people have known who Bedard was for years. They've been calling him the next generational talent for a long time.
Since the kid was like 14.
I think long-term plans was Yzerman was going to try and get Bedard. But, the certain players were ready sooner and then they outperformed the expectations. So the plan always changes. I think that with Shane Wright and Bedard in back-to-back drafts, that was the goal. Was to shoot for him. But with Seider having a career, a Calder year, and then Raymond being NHL ready a year before anyone expected, I just don't think it's in the cards for the Red Wings right now.
There's a trade deadline for a reason. If we get off to a really slow start, if the team's really struggling again,
then go for it.
Then you tank and you sell off everybody, and then you go for it mid-season. But I don't think going into opening night that's going to be the plan.
Yeah, and then I had another one here from BestCam-N8. If you had the ability to guarantee that one current player or prospect would spend their entire career as a wing, who would you choose? If it's easily Seider, who'd be next? Current player
I
or
think it is
prospect?
current. I think it is easily Sider. So I think the question is who's next. Because
That's that's what he
I don't
said.
think it's really close. I
I gotta
guess
say Dylan Larkin, right?
That's what I was gonna say. I guess I would go Larkin. I think my answer would be Sider one pretty comfortably at that, and then I think Dylan would be two. I think so. And then like after that, then it gets really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's
But though I think those are my top two pretty comfortably. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would hope Raymond. I don't think Bertuzzi will be honestly. I mean, depending on how long his career
Well,
is, but
career, yeah.
yeah, his career
Even
could
if
be
he gets
short.
extended a couple, career is
It's
like
subjective,
right. There's a lot of people that go and play for Ottawa for a year and before they ride off into the sunset. Like career is tough.
Yeah, and I got a couple of other goofy ones here that I also want to get to because
Somebody asked
fun.
me how much it would cost for me to eat a whole jar of peanut butter right now. $0.00.
Crunchy or creamy?
Crunchy. I'm not a crazy person. I
There was
like
one.
texture in my food. I don't like baby food as an adult. I'm sorry, I'm grown up.
Oh, I'm trying to find the one. There was one especially I wanted to get to. Oh, how did Ted Lindsay not win the Ted Lindsay Award? Well, it didn't come about until after Ted Lindsay had retired. So I'm pretty sure that one was in jest, though. There's a lot of goofy ones.
Pretty feasible. It wasn't just. Yeah.
Brian, can you go into detail every book on your bookshelf right now? Hold on, I gotta make sure I block my recliner.
No. Hey Brian, somebody leave a comment and say, "Hey Brian, show us what's on your chair."
I'll show it. It's just it is a pile of clean clothes. Every show, it's behind me, but I position myself perfectly. Just so you guys know who is hosting this podcast. I got Berserk volumes, one of the best manga ever. I got Invincible, which is a comic that recently got our animated adaptation. My Hero Academia, Tokyo Ghoul, and amongst a lot of others. And on the bottom shelves, you can't see them. There's a lot of video games. So yeah, I got nerd stuff down there. Here you go. There's your answer. I'm a huge nerd.
We love them.
Let's see.
Let's go, Wings. Love the podcast. Keep it up.
Appreciate we love you too. It's nice seeing like in this chat, all the people who are like our everyday commenters on our Nick. We see you every day. Like keep
stay frosty.
Stay frosty. Yeah.
Stay frosty.
Let's see. Brad, thanks as always, man. Appreciate you guys. Giving us feedback. I almost said feeding back. And I was like, that's not how you say it. That's not how you say it. See, any other comments we want to get to? No, I am not going to challenge Scotty to a twerk competition.
Yeah, because you would get eaten alive. I would destroy you.
Our boy's thick over there. I think that about does it. I think I got to most of them. So
yeah, I think those are all the ones that I had pinpointed as far as
especially the twerk competition one.
Well, I was more thinking the ones directed about the Wings, but yeah.
Let's see here. Thanks for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. From first round matchups to each Stanley Cup kiss, Locked On NHL covers the playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday. It is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Scotty, got any final thoughts, man?
I don't think so. We ball, baby.
We absolutely ball. We'll be back on Thursday, a Thursday episode, because, again, this is your Wednesday episode. We might talk a little bit of Barry Trotz. We'll see. We'll see what's in store. Same time, same place, your team, every day.
Every day.